Hello, I'm Joel Deering with the International Volleyball Hall of Fame. We are speaking one-on-one today with members of the induction class of 2017. This is Volleyball in Perspective. I'm joined by Jose Loiola of Brazil. Welcome, Jose.
Thank you.
And congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You are being honored for your international beach volleyball playing career, where early achievement came your way as a Brazilian junior national champion. In 1993, you and your partner, Eduardo and Gino Basile, entered AVP tour events and caught everyone's attention as you finished in the top 5 in 11 events. You were known for your great leaping ability and a tremendous arm swing. You went on to partner with Adam Johnson to win 11 AVP tournaments and racked up 17 more wins with Kent Steffes, including 13 in 1997, where you were named MVP. You were a 4-time Best Offensive Player honoree and became a fan favorite with your dynamic personality. In the late 1990s, you began to focus on FIVB international play and won 20 times, mainly with International Volleyball Hall of Fame 2016 inductee Emmanuel Rigo. You were crowned in 1999 as FIVB Tour Championship and went on in 2000 with your countrymen as your partner to represent Brazil in the Sydney Olympic Games. Your post-playing career has kept you in the sport as a high-performance coach in the Florida region of USA Volleyball. So let's start at the beginning. How did you first start playing sports? What sports did you play, and when did you find volleyball?
Well, actually, I always lived like a block away from the beach, and when I was very young, as a Brazilian, you start as a soccer player because that's the sports that dominate the country. So, but then I started growing and become too tall, and people in Brazil say, hey, you're too tall to play soccer now. You got to go play basketball. So I ended up playing basketball. So I played basketball for a few years, and then volleyball is always like next to me. It was on the beach, like I said, and in school, all my friends play volleyball, and all of a sudden I start playing volleyball on the side, and people say, hey, dude, you got a really good talent to play volleyball. How come you don't give it a try? So when I was 15 years old, as I was playing basketball, I started to play volleyball as well. And then, but then it got too hard because I was in school from 6 a.m. until 1 o'clock p.m., and then I'll come home, have lunch, and then head to the volleyball training, and then from 2 to 6, and then 7 to 9 to 10, basketball. By the time I come home, it was too late. I was getting really tired. And then the following year, I said, I got to make a decision here. What should I choose? And I made the right choice. I think I did,
I'd say
and
so.
I chose volleyball. So that's how everything starts.
And most of your early play was indoor.
Yes.
Did you have a particular coach early on that had a real influence on you?
I certainly did. There was one coach in Vitoria that I started to play. And also too, when I moved to Rio, when I first played my first year as a professional volleyball player, it was Marco Freitas. And then we had really good success. I think I've learned a lot at that year in Rio, and then play with great players like one of my idols, like Bernard Hasman. I remember when I was a kid watching those guys on the television, and next thing you know, you're playing with him in the same team, and he was doing the sky ball. And at times I didn't know what to do. If I was watching him sky ball, if I watched the opponents on the other side.
There was a lot of time between contacts.
I know, right? Especially because the balls go so high, you got a lot of time, I might have time to take a pictures, in between.
So tell us about the transition from going indoors to beach and kind of taking that on full time.
Well, everything starts, it was back in 1990 when Brazil went through a crisis, and we had all the sponsors pulling out of the sports. And I used to play for Flamengo, a club in Rio, and we lost our sponsors. We had a really young talent team, but unfortunately the economy went bad and we lost our sponsors. And after that, Brazil started putting together some events, the beach volleyball events, in the very beginning, even before then the CBV events started. So I started playing, and we started creating the, among with other players, all of a sudden the CBV said, you know what, we're going to start the first national Brazil tour for beach volleyball. That was back in 1991. So I started to play with a fellow of mine, Luizio from Vitória, Espírito Santo. So then we played for a year. We played it really well on the first year. We had 5 stops for the first season and the CBV Banco do Brasil tour. And then the following year, Luizio and I came apart. That's when I started playing with Anjinho.
Yes.
So that's everything starts. So Anjinho and I did really well. That's the year that we went on and won the championship, then the South American. And then at the beginning of the year in 1993, we had the F5B in Rio, when you see all the famous players, you know, all the Americans, like such as Randy Stoklos, Cindy Smith, Kurt Kirai, Pat Powers, and that was a huge influence on us, you know, having those guys coming in and beating us all the time.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you, and you're right at that point. So when do you believe in your heart, I can play out here, I can win out here? When did you feel that, at what point in your career did you really feel like you could be successful internationally?
I think in the beginning there was a lot of skepticism, because all the players that I play against in Brazil, all my teammates, all players that play against me in the national tour say, oh man, you don't know, you never played the F5B, you never play against those guys. But Anjinho and I had such a great success, and we never had that fear to play anybody. So everything starts, you know, they're gonna I don't remember any Brazil team score more than 5 points in the final against the Americans. And I told everybody, no, you know what? We're going to beat these guys. You know, I think we can. And fortunately, you know, we played at that tournament in 1993 in Rio, and we ended up beating Randy Stoklos and Cindy Smith, not only one time in the pool, but 2 times in the semifinals. We ended up losing to Kent Steffens and Adam Johnson in the final, that team that we beat them in the first round.
Wow.
But the thing is, at that time, we broke all the fear, we broke all that, and that's how we got to come to the United States. You know, after the tournament, we got 2 wild cards to come to play in AVP. Wow. And the first one, it was in Fort Myers in Florida, and the second one was in Pensacola. So the first one, we came in, we did okay, we got 13. We started out outside of the bracket because we didn't have any points. And the next thing you know, we're winning games at the time. Unfortunately, in that tournament, one of the top seeds, they lost it. It was an upset. We ended up playing them to get it the next day. But we move on to the next tournament, and then in Pensacola. And then Gio and I, we did really well. We won the first 2 matches, and the tournament got canceled because it was a big storm came in. I think people that are here, they remember about that. But we end up earning a lot of points of that because we won those 2 games and the way we finished. And these guys say, hey, now you guys have enough points to stay in the main draw. And then we knew then Havla and Dodd, and Havla had apartments in El Segundo, say, hey, I got a place for you guys to stay. And Mike Dodd kind of like, you guys can stay in my house until you figure out where you're going to stay. So that's how we came to California, you know, and to play in the Mecca. At that time, AVP was the biggest. That was the place to be.
What? I have 2 questions for you. We'll start with this one. What do you think your strengths were as a player?
I think my strength as a player was the mental toughness, you know. I was never feared to play against anybody, combined with the physicality and the leaping ability that everybody knows me as for that. I think those are the majority of the strength that I felt that I had. But the most, you know, because I came from a small town in Brazil, you hear a lot of diversity. People say, hey, you better go to school. This is not for you. So all that kind of stuff, it gets on you, you know. And sometimes it's either knock you off or make you stronger, you know. And that case made me stronger. I believe that's where the mental toughness came from, you know, that all these years that people telling you can't do it.
This is my impression. Tell me yours, because you played around the world. Brazilian players were very popular outside of their country sometimes. And I know from watching even indoor great Brazilian teams, I could turn the sound down, but you couldn't help but like the enthusiasm that you could see when they play. I think Brazilian players are known for that emotion in volleyball. And so tell me, if just your experiences being around the world, did you feel that you won fans over who got to watch you play?
Yeah, certainly, definitely. I think the passion comes from Brazil people. They're very, outgoing.
Sure.
They like to have fun, and they're very enthusiastic. And I, that's how it is. People like have a lot of passion what they do. Brazil, it's not like in the United States. There we have a lot of opportunities. Even then you don't succeed in a certain areas, but sky is always the limit here for us. But in Brazil, not necessarily that's going to happen. So every time you have the opportunity that you can get yourself in something that you really like it, you give it all.
So now we have some partner changes. Take us through Adam Johnson and Kent Steffes and success with both. And what were some of the highlights for you of those, and how did that all happen?
Well, I think it happens like when Anjinho got hurt, one in 1995, I believe that, and and Randy Stoklos, I think, injured as well too. And Adam Johnson was playing with Stoklos, and I was playing with Anjinho, and somehow the situation was, was right there, was right for both of us. And okay, let's play this tournament, see how it goes. We did really well, and then okay, we certainly match. I think we can become a really good team. So let's give it a try, at least until the end of the season. So we did. We stick together. We made a really good team. We ended up winning we did what they call the SWIP, the South Bay. We won the Manhattan Open that year in '95, and the Hermosa, which used to be the U.S. Open.
Sure.
And then with Adam Johnson, I certainly learned a lot, how to become a little bit more professional, because until then I never had any experiences with American partners. I always had the Brazil. And with Adam, it was a little bit different, because you can see that guy come every day. He's always on time, bringing his volleyballs and all that culture, And I was like, wow, I kind of like that, That's how you become the professional player you are. I think all this dedication. This is my job. Right. This is when I start thinking, hey, this is a real job. It's not just like I'm on the beach having fun, I'm taking this a little bit more serious, And with Kent Steffes, it was just like a click right away, We played the first time together. It was in 1997 at the King of the Beach. We played so well at that time, And I remember my wife's telling me that I was in bed and all these guys are walking by the hallway and saying like, "Oh my God, did you guys see Jose and Kent play together? That's an amazing team." And that kind of like, wow, it's such an honor for me, because Kent Steffes, he just won the gold medal in 1996. Next thing you know, you're playing with that guy and you're doing really well. We won all these tournaments, and he really helped me win the King of the Beach of that year. Next thing I know, I got a phone call from Kent. "Hey, Jose, do you want to play for the rest of the season?" I say, "Are you going to dump cards for me?" He said, "Yes." Here we are, And then Kent and I start playing, and I believe that as far as a team, professional, like as connecting, winning, Kent was by far my best partner, because as like me, he so mental toughness in that man. He played so many years with the best player in the world and gets served every single ball. And they won so many tournaments, and I've learned so much from that.
Did you have a particular hardship or an obstacle to overcome in your career? Anything that was particularly tough to deal with, whether it was an injury or?
I think it was the injury, like I was telling you earlier, though. In 2002, I was 32 years old, and I went to the doctor. I was in the top of my game, and the doctor says, he looks at the X-rays and say, "Hey, I think you're done." And I was like, "Wait a minute, 32 years old, on the top of my game, and you're telling me that I'm done?" So I was like, oh, I'm going to give it a try, but I should listen to him. Because after that, I was just downhill. My hip got really bad. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to compete at the level that I like to. So kind of.
And then right before that, we've got to work this in too, because another International Volleyball Hall of Famer, Bones,
Right.
Emmanuel Rego. Tell us about that time that you had together and really tremendous success there with the 1999 Tour Championship.
Yeah, it was another tough decision because Emmanuel came into play in the AVP. I believe it was 1998, and I was playing with Kent Steffes, and I was like, the numbers would tell we had such a great success. But the 2000 Olympics was right around the corner, so I had to make that decision. Either I stay with Kent and continue the SAG with the AVP and doing well, or go back to the F5B and qualify, earn enough points to be in the Olympics. Because I couldn't play in 1996 with Angia because we were playing the AVP.
Right.
So, this is my opportunity. And Emmanuel is such a great player. He was very young at that time. And then, okay, let's do it. And then we came together, and we also, like Kent Steffes, we clicked right away. And we had many success. I think we broke the world record with 6 or 7 consecutive wins in the World Tour. And it's great. It was a great accomplishment. It was a great to be able to play with such level high players, and history of beach volleyball. And it's all good.
And it seems like you had, it's a remarkable length of your career and the durability and the success you had, but now you have stayed in the sport and you've transitioned into coaching. So tell us a little bit about how that went and what your vision for yourself is in that regard.
Well, that went pretty good, though. I think it was in 2010. I did the beach cap with USA Volleyball, and I become the USA Volleyball, and then I start working with the juniors, with the youth, U19s, U21s, U17s, and then that's how everything starts, And it took me a little while, because once you want to become a good coach, you have to kill the player that's inside of you, and it took me a little time to do that, Because as you can always have that thing back, when I was a player, I used to do that. Right. But you're not a player anymore. Now you're a coach. Right. So it takes time. And now I'm like about 8-9 years of coaching, and I'm enjoying. I'm coaching the young girls from USC, Sarah Hills and Kelly Clays, and we're have a go. The goal is to go to Tokyo.
That's wonderful. 2 more questions. One is just the changes in the sport over time. You experienced some of that. You saw it on the indoor game to some degree with maybe rule changes, and probably in the outdoor game too. But what about the future? What would you like if there's a change ahead? If there's a change in the sport itself, is there one that you think the sport needs?
I think change is always good, depending if it's for the benefit of the sports. And sometimes we're not all of us are very happy with change, and nobody likes to change, especially if something works. But we have to see the necessity. And as a coach now, as a player in the past, I don't care about changes, I'm looking to adapt for the changes, I'm not looking to like, hey, the change is not good. I think, hey, you know what? It's a change. If there's a change because we need to change something, we have to make something better. That's the way of looking into it. And I'm sure it's going to be more changes in the future. There's one rule changes now they're talking about going back with the beach, the blocking touch now again. So, and to me, that's valid. You know what I mean? If you're a player, if you are winning, you know what I mean? You don't care about changes, you care about your volleyball.
Yeah. Well, last question. How do you feel about being inducted into International Volleyball Hall of Fame?
Wow, that's a pretty amazing accomplishment. It's a great honor. Like I think I was telling you earlier, like I was very excited. Actually, I was in Poland when I got the email. I was like, "Is that for real? Is that me?" Yeah. I was a little skeptical in the beginning, but then I say, "Hey, it's me," and I got some phone calls, and people were very excited about that. And it's like I said, it's such a small, select group of people, and knowing that you're part of that, it's such a great accomplishment. You know what I mean? Not only as a volleyball player, but as a person
Sure.
in life, you know, because you achieve at such a high level of accomplishment, you know. And to me, that's like, volleyball is my passion, volleyball is my job, and being docked, it's just an amazing thing for me.
Well, we congratulate you. We've been speaking with International Volleyball Hall of Fame Class of 2017 honoree, Jose Loiola. This is Volleyball in Perspective, and I'm your host, Joel Daring. Thank you for watching.